Hi, I'm Iliana Limon-Romero here with Alicia DelGallo, ready to talk soccer. This is our Orlando City, Orlando Pride, Orlando City B soccer show. We take questions from the readers via Twitter. You can tweet at OS Lions. We have already gotten some great questions so far. We're definitely open to some stoppage time questions. So if you've got any questions you want to fire away at us, feel free. We also will be we're on Facebook Live, and we'll be taking questions from there as well if they roll in. So very excited about it. First of all, let's take a step back. There was no Pride play. We know that OCB is on a 4-game unbeaten streak. It's looking, really steady as a developmental team for the Orlando City Club. So that's great.
Yeah.
We got to see Rafa Ramos got some minutes with them, so wonderful for them. But the big show, Orlando City. What have you seen from them this past week? Any thoughts on how this very busy stretch has started?
Yes, so not the greatest start, obviously, with another loss at home, 2-1 to Toronto, and some familiar mistakes coming up in that game. Some of the players looked fatigued at the end. The transitions and the defense on quick starts were what led to goals. So Jason Kreis, not too happy with those aspects of the game afterwards, but was happy. Said he did continue to see some improvement in other areas. A little bit of the details and the tactical work that he's been working on with players. So another big game, quick turnaround going ahead to New York, and he's just kind of moving on and staying focused.
All right, so we'll get some questions in about that, I am sure. If not, I will be asking more at the end about this Orlando City NYCFC matchup. But let's get to our reader questions. We so appreciate you sending them in early on Twitter. Let's see who we've got first up. From Warrior, at Pride Warrior 24. Any news on the new Pride player? How do you think having the Olympians back will affect the team, positive or negative? So a lot of interest in that.
So the first part of that question, I talked to Pride coach Tom Sermani today, and he did say that he was hoping to make an announcement today about an international player, but he said the process has been really frustrating, and paperwork issues and negotiation issues have set them back, so he's hoping to make an announcement early next week at the earliest.
Okay. All right. So I know you always fish, so did he rule anybody out or put anybody in? Nothing? Or we still got to wait and see?
He's being very coy about that. I did jokingly ask if it was Caitlin Ford, which we know it can't be, but he said no, absolutely not. But that was another scenario. He wanted her really bad, so the rumors were not completely out there, but he wanted her really bad. He was negotiating and trying to get her earlier in the season, and he said that was a frustrating scenario, and they couldn't work anything out there. So he said it's been a really tough couple of months for them as far as negotiating and trying to get players in that they wanted to bring in, and things haven't panned out.
All right, so look for more developments. Seems like something could be coming soon. Now, the second part of that question, the Olympians coming back, positive or negative, right. I don't know how that could be negative.
I don't know how it could be negative. But here is some news. So Monica came back and trained for the first time today. Jose Belanger will not be back until early next week. She went back to Canada. Tom said he's pretty sure they're still polishing their medals up there, and she's going to take the week off, and she'll be back next week. So you'll be without Monica, be without Jose Belanger, be without Steph Catley, who was injured and is out the rest of the season, and also news will be without Laura Alloway. So she has a quad injury that's going to keep her out, and Sermani said she's week to week with that. So really only two Olympians coming back.
But two very good Olympians. It's Alex Morgan, Ashlyn Harris.
Yes, and he did say that Ashlyn Harris, despite not playing, she's been in a very intense training environment with them, and he said she's coming back. She looks great, and he doesn't expect there to be any hesitation or lapse in her playing, that she'll go right back into it.
All right, sounds good. Just a reminder, you can send us late questions at OS Lions on Twitter, and we're on Facebook Live, so you can watch and type if you've got any other questions. All right, next up from our earlier Twitter responses, which we much appreciate, Kyle Mirdo at Meards Beards. How will OC adjust to the injury of Catley? So adjusting to losing Catley, adjusting to some of these will, quite frankly, they've had to play without these players for quite some time. So
I think you'll see a lot of similarities to what they were doing when they didn't have them anyways. You know, Alex is back, so that's another forward up front. It gives them options to move Kristen Edmonds around if they want to. We know she said last week that outside back is one of her favorite positions to play. So there may be opportunity to shift things around on defense, possibly, but I think you're going to see a lot of the same when they weren't around.
I think the exciting thing for them is to have Alex as really attracting a lot of attention on the other side. So if you figure maybe outside you might have a same run, he really liked the idea of just having Jasmine Spencer and Kristen Edmonds on the same side. They have a great flow and rapport together. So I think you could see some of that, and that's still going to fit well in the mix. And then just having the force of Alex Morgan. I don't know if she always gets enough credit for how much attention she attracts and how much she frees up her teammates. So I think even though, yes, you want your defenders who are amazing, just her attracting so much attention is just going to give them more room to operate, and I think it's going to be helpful.
And a huge boost to the defense, Ashlyn.
Obviously.
Being in goal. So.
Major help, hugely influential, eager to, you know, obviously a good showing. I mean, if she has a good run of play with everything that has happened with Hope Solo being suspended, you want to do your best right now. This is an opening, an opportunity that didn't look like it was going to come along for her. So very exciting times. We'll see how they perform. All right, next question. Another one from Meared Spears, Carol Meardo. How does Brett continue to play offense when he doesn't contribute? I saw no spark in the last 3 games. This has been a rough run of play for Breck Shea.
Hating on Breck at the back line, hating on him on the right wing. You know,
we want more from Breck.
Yeah, I think it's. I think what you're seeing now is that it was a clean slate when Jason Christ took over. So what everyone's been frustrated with Breck's play throughout the season, Jason is only seeing the first couple of weeks, and I think he's attributing it to the change in regime and moving things around and learning things and stuff like that. So I don't think he's seeing it as that huge of an issue. He's asking Breck to play on the right wing. He didn't play there previously, so I think he's seeing improvements with Breck and working with Breck and giving him the opportunity and the time and the playing time. But, I mean, he did bench him, use him as a substitute, because Christ does not prefer the word benching. But he did use him as a substitute in this game instead of starting him, so.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to continue to tinker, and it's a busy time, and he's one of those talents, like I hard-pressed to think that so many coaches would be wrong about what he brings to the table. You've seen he was in the national team pool for a reason. You've seen Adrian Heath, praise him, and you've seen Jason Christ say, I think he can be an everyday national team player, and he's seeing an investment in his training. I don't think he was going to write him off after a few weeks of it not going to the level that they wanted it to. I think Breck's going to get an opportunity to try to pull it together and bring it back around, but there's just been a series of challenges, a series of issues that have set him back. So,
yeah. And I actually spoke with Breck today briefly, a little bit about how he feels about playing right wing. He said, basically his response to do you like playing right wing or do you prefer left back was whatever. He likes playing wherever, but he does like he's happy that he's back in the midfield. That's where he would prefer to be attacking and scoring. So maybe it'll start to show soon.
Yeah, it just seems like one of those players that just needs a breakthrough.
Yeah.
And we'll see if he's ever able to get it. You just never know. So
he needs another Portland performance.
Oh, who doesn't at this point? Okay, all right, let's go with next question. Thanks again, Kyle. Warrior, at Pride Warrior 24. Why is there not much promotion for Pride games on SM now? Apart from a random tweet, it seems to have quieted down a lot.
So I spent way longer than I should have trying to figure out what SM meant, and I think it's social media.
Huh.
So
okay.
I hope I'm going to go with that. Do you guys?
Yeah,
anybody?
that seems good.
So I think it's social media. So you probably have seen quieting down of Pride mentions on social media because they haven't been playing. They've been on, what is it, a month-long break? Nearly a month-long break?
I want to say it's 47 days since they played a home game.
Oh,
so
almost 6 weeks. Almost a 6 week.
Yeah, so it's a long stretch before a home game, and I think that really contributes it. You try to get fired up about different things, and these players really enjoy the opportunity to have a break. I think it's a very long season, and I know it's kind of a misnomer when you compare it to MLS because MLS is going the entire time, and that's actually we've reported on how grueling that is on the players. But with NWSL, these players just spoke of great relief about how big this break was for them, how big of an opportunity. It was like they were right back in training camp. They were able to develop, do different things, take long vacations. I saw a post from Puerto Rico that looked amazing.
There were a lot of
very, very fun times that were had, time with family, good stuff like that.
I saw one from New Hampshire.
Okay, look at that, New Hampshire as well. So, you know, I just think it's going to ratchet back up. I think the Olympians give a big jolt to the league, and it's always hard when you lose a good core of players in that way. I don't get the sense that Orlando City as a club is backing away from the Pride. They love them. They're super excited about Friday.
Or us, if, you know, lack tweets from the Orlando Sentinel. And I will say that we have been, while there's been a little bit less Pride news out, we've been keeping them in coverage every day. And we had Olympic coverage that the Orlando Sentinel was tweeting out during that time, too.
So there you go. We're working on it. Keep watching. It's going to get real busy for the Pride, so I promise that that's going to ratchet back up.
5 games left.
All right. Next question we have from Ian F. IF in ORL. The O lineup looked like our best options available, but could still only muster 1 goal at home. What now?
Okay, so you could only muster 1 goal, but did you see the amount of chances that were created? You know, Kyle Larin had the ball, was right there so many times, so many opportunities to finish, and they just couldn't. So, you know, it did look like a great lineup, and what he's saying with the best options available is you had Kaká, you had Molino back, and you had Matias Perez Garcia in the center. And the thing, though, is that Molino is still recovering. He's still not full 100% match fitness Molino. So that's a little bit of it. Matias Perez Garcia, his second start with the team. So, yeah, like, you know the potential of these players, but they're still working together. So as for what's next, Jason Kreis said to expect a lot of rotation. He's been working with that to try to get through these tough stretch of games. He really wanted to make sure all the players were fresh and nobody was too tired game to game. So I think you can expect to see significant rotation, as you did from the Colorado game to the Toronto game in the starting lineup. I think there were 4 or 5 different players in the starting lineup. So you also have Ramos that could possibly be ready. He's working his way back. Jason was really focused on him today, separately away from the group. And I think, you know, the people you didn't see last game, Haji, Aha, those types of players, Julio, will make an appearance in the New York game because he was keeping them fresh.
Yeah, I think you could have seen maybe a dose of Julio Bautista. That's the only one I would have said late because Kyle looked tired, but he did have some great looks. You can't deny that they had a good game plan. It's just sometimes those go your way and sometimes they don't. It's part of the game. But
you know, I was sitting a few seats down from Kurt Larson, the Toronto reporter, and he tweeted out something I thought was pretty funny. He said Orlando City's got to be looking to get Julio Bautista on to get a penalty.
I mean, I thought it too. I was like, dude, you put him in the last 10 minutes, surely he'll draw a penalty because he's the beast for a reason. But the beast will be back for NYCFC, so you know, having him fresh is huge, and pacing him is important. So get that. All right, next question. Steve Ellis at Vanian170. Any possibility of Turner getting a run out at right back? Alston. Sorry. Typo. Alston has looked out of sorts recently. Also, what did Barry do wrong? Not wrong, but
Barry didn't do anything wrong. Like I said, I think that he wasn't used as an option, but he will be in the New York game. So, like I said, Jason is trying to really rotate the players. Whereas previously, earlier in the season, if there was a string of games, you probably would have seen a lot of the same lineup and just maybe a few more subs used or vice versa, but he's really rotating the entire lineup. And actually, I talked to Joe Bendick about it, and he said that he actually likes that. He likes getting all the players involved and having fresh players in the lineup each game. So, I mean, it speaks to what Jason thinks of all of the players, the full selection of players. He has a lot of faith in them. He's not worried about starting, you know, certain handfuls over the other right now, and he's still trying to get a feel for which group of players work best together. Yeah. So another one I forgot to mention, Mikey Ambrose. I think he would probably make an appearance as well. So I don't think Tyler Turner's in the mix to make an appearance on the back line. He hasn't really. He's been playing mostly with OCB, but I think Ambrose, possibly Ramos. Could possibly.
Yeah, I think that's a mix of players that you're going to see. And you also they have short-term goals and they have long-term goals, and they have not let go of the playoff goal. That's still the ultimate, most important, right in front of you goal. But the opportunity to evaluate all these players is huge, just to see how they react in game situations, to see how they respond. That's something that if you can do that and still stay in contention, if you can do that and play improved defense the way it seems they have the last couple of games, well, maybe not this one, the Colorado game. If you can play improved defense the way you did in Colorado, then that's a win.
Yeah.
Even if it was a draw. All right, next question. Another one from Steve Ellis at Vanian 170. Do you think we will change the formation for Sunday? Laren up front in his zone needs closer support for knockdowns, etc. So interesting with NYCFC. Thoughts?
I don't think so. I think he's going to stick with the formation. I think you're just going to see personnel changes on the field.
All right, makes sense. All right, next question. Who we got up? Steve Ellis again at Vanian 170. Will OCSC make a complaint about the officials last night? So many occasions, the linesman was way behind the play. So I'm going to say many missed calls. I saw lots of screenshots from various people of potential offside calls. Thoughts?
It was very close. Well, watching it live, it was a little hard to tell live. But Jason Christ did say that he watched the replay today, and he believes it was 100% offside. He thinks that was a missed call, that it was unfortunate, and that's the way it works sometimes. He did admit that there were some things that they could have done differently anyways to prevent that from happening. It was another quick restart. And also, I just want to mention, a lot of people were giving Tommy Redding a lot of flack for especially that first goal. But I asked Jason, because he mentioned it after in the press conference, where he said that wasn't Tommy's fault. Like, first of all, he was in, I gave credit to him for heading the ball out of bounds. It bounced off the wall and directly into Toronto players' hands for such a quick throw in that they could get it behind Tommy. And then he said there were some other issues going on. He's not sure with formation and tactics, like why Redding was over there in the first place to be in on that play. So he didn't blame Tommy at all for that scenario. But yeah, some blown calls, some things they could have done differently regardless.
So in the past, that's the sort of thing that they can contact the league about, but it's definitely something that they can't really speak to publicly, because that can run you into fines and some other issues. But
it's not going to result in any change.
Trey Helwig at Trey Helwig, can you comment on Merritt Paulson quote in the ESPN article, REOC talking to Giovinco age quality players? So always very exciting. Let's get an early look at the transfer market before the transfer window is even open.
Yeah. So basically, just to recap, the article, the ESPN article, basically says that Merritt Paulson, the Portland owner, says that Wayne Rooney, the Man U and English national team player, should consider MLS, and it should be an attractive option for him because MLS is offering big bucks to try to replicate the Giovinco effect, to bring in, and instead of typically in the past bringing in 34-year-old players, towards the end of their career. And in that, there was a quote that said that Orlando City had been speaking to a lot of players in that age range for big money, trying to bring them in. So, doesn't surprise me. I think that multiple times throughout the various transfer windows, it has been written that Orlando City had been trying to bring in big name players, and it's been shown in the past that they're willing to spend big money on players if they want them.
Right. So I think it's going to be part of the process. I would say regardless, and I playoffs are still on the table, but regardless of whether there's playoffs, I think the very end of this season is going to be very interesting and very exciting for fans to watch. Very active. You look at who has shown Jason Christ that they feel like they can be part of the club for the future. You're going to see players potentially get released, which is always hard to see when they're fan favorites, but it's going to happen. You're going to have some roster turnover, and we're really going to get a sense of long-term which direction they're going. And I absolutely would not rule out acquisitions of big-name players from elsewhere.
Yeah,
so
definitely not.
We'll see what happens, but it's going to be very interesting. You're going to be busy.
I know. Yay.
All right.
For me, no break.
There'll be a break later, but yes, it'll be short. That's the nature of the MLS beast. It's a pretty short window, but hopefully we'll make the most of it. Next question. Michael Butura, @_Michael Butura. What's the U.S. women's soccer national team depth chart at goalkeeper now that Hope Solo is suspended? Will Ashlyn Harris get the nod? Highly competitive.
Yeah, so the current depth chart, Ashlyn was third. So she would not automatically get the nod, but I talked to Jill Ellis before the Olympics, and she said that Ashlyn, was playing catch up a little bit. And to Nader, is that how I say her last name? To Nader. Playing catch up a little bit to Nader, and after she got injured last Christmas time, I think, but that they weren't far off, and it was just like splitting hairs, trying to choose between them, and she chose Nader because she had more playing time leading up to the Olympics. So as of right now, Ashlyn is the number 3 goalkeeper, but she could, very well overtake the number 2 spot from what I see fairly easily.
Yeah, it's 2A and 2B at this point. I think you're looking for a lot I'd look to see a lot out of both of them. The end of the NWSL season, you've got some friendlies coming up in the fall that are going to be interesting to see how they handle that. I'm sure that Jill Ellis is going to look at them, but she may also look at some younger keepers for the long-term future. We're looking at a pretty big gap before some major international tournaments. So it's going to be interesting to see, but no question, there's an opportunity there.
They're both in their 30s now, right? Ashlyn,
So,
or 29, 30, or 30, 31.
Yeah, definitely. They've still got, I believe Hope Solo's like closer to 34, I want to say.
Well, yeah, she's older than the
She's
other
older
two.
than the other two, so there's still, you figure if she was playing at peak potential, they've still got a good 4-year stretch. So we're 3 years away from the next World Cup, 4 years away from the next Olympics, so it's going to be a very interesting time. So
big change if Hope is back.
This was a huge news. I would not underscore it. It is being appealed, just to be clear, and I guess we should catch up for people who weren't aware. Hope Solo made some comments at the end of the Olympics, was very frustrated and very outspoken about during their loss to Sweden, she felt that they were cowards, is what she said in her post-game press conference, because they played more of a defensive-oriented game plan. They went with tactics where they sat back, and it wasn't the kind of fluid game you might expect. At the same time, I think the challenge for her is that there have been some people who have pointed out she's not going to be at the bargaining table as a result, as they're trying to get a new contract.
So I actually asked Alex Morgan about that today. So Alex, I tweeted out a portion of Alex's response today, and it's not getting super positive feedback, I should say. She basically said, as players, we have no control over what, sanctions or punishments are handed down by the federation to players, but it's a bummer that it happened to her teammate, but at the same time she doesn't agree with what she said. So those were her exact words. It was a bummer, but she doesn't agree with what she said. I think it's just a human that is speaking, fluidly in a conversation, and it may have come across the wrong way to some people, rubbed them the wrong way, but she seemed to be genuine in her response. And then when I asked her if she thought it would affect the fight for equal pay, she said she didn't think it would affect it too much because, there's so many players fighting for equal pay, and not just Hope Solo. So she's confident that they'll come to a resolution.
I think that's an understandable sentiment. I think it's just that Hope's very outspoken. So the thought was that maybe she would be very vocal and less likely to be open to giving ground. And I think that's putting a lot on every individual. You can never project how something is going to turn out. But anyway, that catches you up. She had been working very hard to try to earn. So good for her on that, and we'll see how it plays out moving forward. All right, next question from Twitter. We have...
That's a wrap on the Twitter question.
That's it?
Oh, okay.
We'll
So we had none on Facebook Live so far. We appreciate you watching, but none.
We usually have a lot.
I know. It's okay. I'm excited to talk about the NYCFC match. So if we're wrapped up with questions, I got some more for Alicia.
Oh, no.
It's going to be fun.
All right, I think, let me just double check one.
We're looking for stoppage time questions. Let's see if anybody slid in under the wire. Under the wire. So this is going to be an interesting stretch. We're going to have a whole bunch of Pride games. This is just with this restart. Then we have Orlando City playing NYCFC on Sunday, and then they have quite a bit of a break, which I think will be good for the club after such a grueling stretch from Colorado, then coming back here, playing a midweek game, and then playing a Sunday game against some of the really top talent in the league from all the way around Colorado, NYCFC.
People are losing their minds over the Alex Morgan quote. Did not think it was going to be that big a deal.
Well, that's the way reaction goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what the sentiment is that it's not enough.
The sentiment is that she shouldn't have used the word bummer, which I don't have a problem with. And then also that it's kind of cold and that it's aligning with U.S. soccer and shunning hope.
Look,
yeah,
she was not involved in the decision, which I agree with her on that.
I mean,
she
I think it's a veteran play when you're employed by the federation. It was a very neutral statement. I thought she said she did, disagreed with her statements, but it was a bummer. But it was a bummer.
I agree with that. I don't see that being an.
I think people expected more eloquence or a stronger opinion from her or just something more from her, but I don't see it being that huge a deal, what she said.
I don't think she did a disservice to her club or her team by responding in that way. Mm-hmm. And I get that. Should she have been more supportive of her because she had an emotional reaction at a press conference during which she said something negative about the opponent they just lost to, who eliminated them from their gold medal push? Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's hard to stand up and be adamant in defense of Hope Solo because of some of the setbacks and challenges. And even she, in the statement she posted, said, I've made my mistakes. I have not always done things in the best possible way. So you had former U.S. national teams players who were very offended by the tone of the commentary.
And came out and said a lot
and
more.
said it very prominently. And Alex, has to balance between, that's my teammate and I'm trying to support her, but at the same time, we have to represent that successful in that way.
In my head. And
dramatic. All right. Okay.
If we don't win this game, then we're not going to make the playoffs. He's like, I don't know what the math is, how it'll work out exactly after this match, but this is the match that they need to win. Washington Spirit is top of the league right now, but they need to just put that out of their mind because they have 5 games left and they need the 3 points from this match.
I will say I don't think I think it's winnable for them. I don't think that there's this massive gap between the Washington Spirit and them in terms of ability or what they might be able to do on the field, especially with Alex and Ashlyn back. I think that what we saw, there have only been a handful of times when they've truly been blown out, where it was just, whoa, massively different. And that was when the Olympians were away. And I know you're not getting all your Olympians back, and that's a bummer. Mm-hmm. But
oh God, I can see the memes now. She's never gonna talk to me again.
It's fine. She will. She's a pro. But anyway, I think that it's a winnable game. It's a hard game. It's one that could easily go the other way, but it's a winnable game. All right, so the other big one, they're all big.
Oh, yeah.
Orlando City versus NYCFC. Mm-hmm. Thoughts on that matchup and what they need to do to be successful?
They need to do what they did in the first game of the season against NYCFC, where they basically played 85 minutes of defense and scored 1 goal. But yeah, this is a big one, and Jason Kreis, everybody's thinking that this is a big one for him. You want to win against the team that just fired you, basically. But he's being very diplomatic as well and saying that no, that's not the case. He has no extra motivation. It's just another game for him. He did say in the post-game press conference last night that he has no particular good feelings towards them.
There you go.
But it's just another game. And I asked him today, I said, are you really saying that you don't want to beat the team? He's like, of course I want to beat them, but even if I had extra motivation within me to win, it's not like I couldn't give that motivation to the players. They don't have that. They need their own motivation. So in that sense, it's just another game.
But what did the players say?
But the players said they want to win for the coach.
That's right. I'm telling you, there's more.
Yeah.
It's a rivalry, and then there's more.
Yeah. So already a rivalry since the first game of both of their inaugural seasons were against each other. Orlando City traditionally performs really well against NYC. They won 1-0 earlier this year. They tied the second matchup. So this is a third one, a big one. NYFC just bumped down to second in the Eastern Conference. The Toronto win put Toronto above them, so they will be wanting to win to get back on top. And Orlando City, of course, desperately needing to win to climb over the playoff cut line.
They want fans there, right? A lot of fans, very loud fans.
No, they don't want anyone there at all.
I don't know, man. I think it will be very interesting, but I do think that they could use that push. That's part of what has been the magic against NYCFC for them. Even when things haven't been going perfectly, the late surges is that fan support. So if you think you might make an impact, you're right, and you should go if that's your team.
Yes.
All right. So it's going to be very interesting. We're very excited about coming back around and talking more Pride, Orlando City. OCB plays another match, continue to win. I mean, can't beat that.
Yeah.
All right. With Alicia DelGallo, I'm Iliana Limon-Romero. You can keep sending us your questions on Twitter at OS Lions throughout the week. We will be answering them on the show. Thank you for joining us at OrlandoSentinel.com.